Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala. Inshallah, today we will conclude the commentary on the hadith number 230 of Sahih Muslim, the hadith that talks about the last three verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, starting from لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله. The verse that talks about that to Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and earth, and whether you reveal or conceal what's in your hearts, Allah will hold you accountable for that. We've been talking about this hadith maybe 3 sessions already, and we've explained it, but I want to now mention to you the different opinions of the various Sahaba and various scholars with regards to the relationship between this verse which I just recited to you and the verses that follow it. Is this verse actually totally abrogated? The ruling in this verse, is it cancelled and there's a new ruling that comes after it? Or is it just clarified? Are the verses that follow it clarify it? Most people were here, right? In the previous sessions. So as we review the opinions, we will come across what we've discussed, some of what we've discussed before. One of the opinions of that is related to Ibn Abbas, Ibn Mas'ud, Aisha, Abu Hurairah, Shabi, few scholars and Sahaba, that this verse actually meant what the Sahaba understood, that whatever is in the heart, they will be held accountable for, and that they have to guard the ideas and the intentions and the inclinations and the emotions that occur in the heart. This is the opinion of Ibn Abbas and many Sahaba and many Tabi'een, second generation, and many scholars. And they said that this was the case for the Sahaba for a whole year, and that the following verses, Allah made it easy on the ummah, on them and on the ummah that comes and follows afterwards. As we know, the Sahaba were sometimes given certain injunctions that are heavier than what was given to Muslims later on. Can somebody mention an example of something that was obligatory on the Sahaba initially, and they did it, and then it was lifted and made easier on the rest of the ummah?
Fasting.
How was fasting made easier?
When it first revealed, it was we can eat only between Maghrib and Salah.
Okay, the way the fasting was. One of the way he mentioned something about the fasting, that they were, if they actually slept, let's say somebody broke his fast at Maghrib, and then at Isha he slept. If he falls asleep and he wakes up, then the fasting has started again. This was a ruling that was for the Sahaba for some time. So if somebody fell asleep, and it happened that some Sahaba came, and as he was waiting for the iftar, his wife was preparing the iftar, he dozed off and he slept. So he woke up and he was fasting again, and he had to do 2 days in a row. This was a ruling. But another thing was praying at night, Qiyamul Layl, right? Surah Al-Muzammil, right? In Surah Al-Muzammil, it was obligatory on them to pray at night, part of the night, maybe a long part of the night. And then that was lifted. Allah says, فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ, and He made it optional. And some scholars say that it actually remained obligatory on the Messenger ﷺ. So that's another thing, and that's not an easy thing to do, but they did it. And this was another one here, according to the opinion of those Sahaba, that they were required to guard any idea that passes in their minds and hearts and their emotions, and whatever they feel is displeasing to Allah, they have to get rid of it right away and not allow it. As I mentioned, waswasa, shaitan will make waswasa, but you realize if this idea is evil, immediately they will oppose it and reject it right away and not allow it to remain in their hearts or minds. Another opinion is that this verse relates to the verse prior to it, in which Allah says, وَلَا تَكْتُمُوا الشَّهَادَةَ وَمَنْ يَكْتُمْهَا فَإِنَّهُ آثِمٌ قَلْبُهُ وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ عَلِيمٌ. Testimony, if you know something about a certain crime or offense, and you are required to testify, or you just know that somebody will get into trouble, if you don't testify and say the truth, a wrong person might be indicted, then it is obligatory on you not to conceal this, what you know.
Material facts.
Exactly. You are supposed to go and tell and volunteer even and say it, and not allow anybody to be wronged because you did not go and testify. وَلَا تَكْتُمُوا الشَّهَادَةَ. You're not allowed to conceal it. وَلَا تَكْتُمُوا الشَّهَادَةَ وَمَنْ يَكْتُمْهَا فَإِنَّهُ آثِمٌ قَلْبُهُ. Whoever conceals this testimony that he knows, his heart is sinning. That's آثِمٌ قَلْبُهُ. It is the heart itself that is committing the sin right now. He didn't say anything. Actually, he should have said, but he didn't. And that alone is a sin of the heart. Allah says, وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah knows what you do. And then this verse relates to that one. لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَإِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ. Whether you conceal it or you say it, Allah knows what's in your heart. So this is another opinion. Third opinion, that this verse, we will be held accountable for what's in the heart if it relates to shak and yaqeen. If that what's happening in the heart is actually affecting the Iman, affecting the basis and the foundation of your belief. Of course, that makes sense, because if what's in the heart has ruined the Iman, and the person's Iman in Allah or the last day or the Messenger or the Quran is affected, of course and obviously, he will be held accountable for that, correct? Because then what he has inside him is not the full Iman. Such like when Allah says, "Hum lil kufri yawma'idhin aqrabu minhum lil iman." He could be closer to kufr than he is to Iman. So yes, that's another opinion. Another opinion which I felt was I never knew before, is that this verse remains as it is. Not only for the Sahaba, for the first year. No. Some scholars, and let me tell you who said that opinion. Let me see if I can find whose opinion is this. This is actually one of the sayings of the Ali ibn Abi Talha, and Ibn Abbas. So Ibn Abbas has more than one saying. So he has the first saying and he has this one too, which is that this أنها محكمة عامة غير منسوخة. This verse remains still today according to the opinion, but that's not a majority opinion. But I just wanted to mention it, that Allah محاسب خلقه على ما عملوا من عمل وعلى ما لم يعملوه مما ثبت في نفوسهم وأضمروه ونووه وأرادوه فيغفر للمؤمنين. So he says here that whatever is in the heart, we will be held accountable for, especially if it's an intention or an inclination of the heart. But on the day of judgment, Allah will forgive the believers. فَيَغْفِرُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. Will forgive the believers because of their belief, and because they did not act on this, will forgive them for what happened in their hearts, while He will hold the disbelievers responsible and the hypocrites responsible, and punish them for the ideas and inclinations and intentions that occurred in their heart as well. You follow? فيغفر المؤمنين وهذا ما ويغفر المؤمنين ويعذب الكافرين. And when they are faced with the hadith of the Messenger ﷺ, in which he says, إن الله تجاوز لأمتي عما حدثت به أنفسها, that Allah does not hold my ummah, my followers, accountable for what happens in their hearts. They say, the people who hold this opinion, they say that the lack of accountability is in what relates to this dunya, such as at-talaq, such as al-bay', such as if somebody, for instance, said inside his heart that his wife is divorced, but he didn't utter it, but he said it in his heart, she's not divorced. Something like that. But the hadith is clear that Allah will not hold us accountable. It's obvious and it's general. So that's just an opinion I wanted to mention. Another opinion is that, قول الخامس, this is number 5, is that the verse remains as it is, and it is not abrogated, it is not cancelled, just like the previous opinion. But the account قاله الحسن وغير الحسن البصري وغيره قال إن العذاب الذي يكون جزاء لما خطر في النفوس وصاحبه الفكر إنما هو بمصائب الدنيا وآلامها وسائر مكارهها وأسنده الطبري عن عائشة. يعني even Aisha, although she has the first opinion, she has this opinion too, and people can change their opinion or can have more than one opinion. That's fine. So we are held accountable for what the thoughts that if an idea comes to us or whispering and we keep on thinking about it, and these thoughts, we are held accountable, but only in dunya, not in akhirah. Only in dunya, not in akhirah. Such as the hardships that we go through in dunya could be related to that, but we are not held accountable in the akhirah. So that's an opinion. I just wanted to mention it as well because it makes us a little bit more cautious about the thoughts. If we say they are totally unaccounted for, then we might not put a clear demarcation about what we can think and what we cannot think. But these two opinions, I just wanted to mention them for that reason, because they really tell us that the verse still stands as it is. But what is the preponderant opinion, the strongest out of all these? Actually, the scholar who wrote this book here, this commentary, he feels that the first opinion, which is the opinion of most of the Sahaba and the most of the followers and many scholars, is that this verse is abrogated, and that this was the case for the Sahaba for 1 year, and then Allah made it lighter and easier on the people and the followers of the Messenger ﷺ who came after them, and even for the Sahaba themselves after this initial year of training, because they were required to have a higher level of faith and dedication to this deen, so as to basically be able to hold and shoulder this responsibility and deliver it to the world as we see it today. If we did not have the generation of the Sahaba at the level they were in, the deen would not have reached us. And that's important, because whenever there's people who are very, very strong in their religion, they can change the whole world. We saw that in the Sahaba, and we see it in any Muslim, even small community and societies that are very strong and resilient with regards to their religion. They can change not only the local community, but the whole world, as we are seeing the people from Palestine doing nowadays. Subhanallah, it's amazing. One time I listened to a sheikh from Palestine, Sheikh Bassam Jarrar. He's a well-known scholar from Palestine. I've been listening to him for years. He says that Sahaba, he did a study. He says he did a study, and he has a research center. It's called Markaz Noon. He says they did a study, and they studied all the Sahaba, how they died. Do you know what the figure of the Sahaba who died as martyrs in war, as opposed to those who might die a natural death? The percentage of the Sahaba who were martyred in battles is 80%. Imagine this. 80% of the people who lived with the Messenger ﷺ, they sacrificed their life. Only 20% died a natural death. He says this, and when they did another study as to how many were martyred out of the leaders, because normally the leaders who lead the armies are, they're protected a little bit, correct? Because they're supposed to lead. They're the symbol. They're not supposed to be exposed to the danger, otherwise the whole army can fall apart. He says more than, I think he said 60 or 64%, even of the leaders of their armies also were martyred. Subhanallah. So we have to know that. And what is the evidence that this actually was what Al-Qadi Iyad and also Al-Qurtubi, and they were also the scholars who explained Sahih Muslim, chose this opinion too. And this is the opinion chosen by Muhammad Adam al-Athiyubi. Is Muhammad Adam al-Athiyubi? What's his name? Muhammad Adam al-Athiyubi. The scholar whom we're reading the commentary from. And this is the largest commentary on Sahih Muslim in the history of Islam, actually. This is the one we're reading from. It is formed of about 44 volumes. Each volume is maybe as big as this. So he has made a huge effort. He chose also this opinion, and he says the justification why he thinks this opinion is the strongest is that this is what the Sahaba understood. And that's why they felt the verse was difficult for them to apply initially. Correct? So, and the Messenger ﷺ didn't say to them otherwise. He didn't, when they asked him, he says, you have to say, Sami'na wa ata'na. Say we listen and we will obey. And so he did, that's what they understood, and that's what the Prophet ﷺ agreed as well to them until it was, and then they said it was then lifted, nusikha, lifted, which means that this ruling applied for a short period of time and then was lifted. You follow? I think that makes sense. But still, the other things we mentioned before that we are held accountable for, such as the determined intention to do something, that we are held accountable for, because that's not an idea that comes in the heart. That's not an idea or an inclination or a desire. No. If somebody has a full plan and intention to do something, and then something happens, prevents him from doing it, no, he's held accountable for that. Correct? And there's many evidence to that. Go ahead.
This hadith about that actually.
What is hadith?
عن ابن عباس عن رسول الله إن الله كتب الحسنات والسيئات ثم بين ذلك فمن هم بحسنة فلم يعملها كتب الله عنده حسنة كاملة وإن هم بها فعملها. Yeah, actually it's coming. This hadith actually isn't Sahih Muslim. It's actually in the same, under the same title. We'll come to this hadith. Yes, this hadith, I mentioned there's 5 hadiths under this subtitle. This was the first hadith we have just completed. This hadith inshallah will come, we'll discuss it in more detail.